literatures. The way that he did it was he started off with the Upanishads. There are 108 Upanishads. Then he compiled 17 different Puranas. Puranas are universal histories. Then he composed the Vedanta Sutra. And the first verse of the Vedanta Sutra specifically addresses conditioned living entities in the human form of life with that famous aphorism, Atato Brahma Jignasa, that now that you're in the human form of life, it's time to inquire about the absolute truth, about what life is meant for, how we got here, so many different core issues. If we look around our world at all the other species, known and unknown to us, in the land, in the water, in the earth, in the air, they don't have the capacity, the conscious capacity to either inquire or discuss these topics. And that's one of the reasons, the main reasons, why human life is meant for studying and contemplating and sharing our expressions and thoughts with the instruments of the tongue and ear and eyes and different things that we have, the working and knowledge acquiring senses. So in that regard, after he had finished Vedanta Sutra, Vyasadeva was still feeling undone. And this whole conversation is in the beginning of the Srimad-Bhagavatam in chapters 5 and 6 between Narada, his spiritual master, and Vyasadeva, where Narada told him to focus more on the Supreme Lord and his pastimes. And thus Srimad-Bhagavatam was composed. Within the Srimad-Bhagavatam, we've already come across questions by the sages of Naimisharanya, similar questions to what I was just referring to. But then we come to the point where the story evolves to Maharaj Parikshit, emperor of the world. You can't get a more elevated position on earth than emperor of the world. But he was cursed to die in 7 days. Take it all away. So he went down to the banks of the Ganges and inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, how do I prepare? What is the goal of my life? And in chapter 8 of the second canto, he asked so many questions about the development of this world, how it's produced, who did that, how long are the different time durations, etc. Sukadeva Goswami, in order to answer Maharaj Parikshit's questions, spoke chapter 9, which is called Answers, citing the Lord's version. And that's where the Chatushloki verses of the Srimad-Bhagavatam are included, when Lord Brahma was instructed directly by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But then he also alluded to this conversation between Vidura and Maitreya, which he's gradually built up to. And now in chapter 7 of the third canto, titled Further Inquiries by Vidura, many of the same questions that Maharaj Parikshit had earlier asked are now being actually addressed but to Maitreya and answered by Maitreya in a very detailed way. So let us go to those texts and do our review. This is Srimad-Bhagavatam, February 2022, lessons 6 and 7. So Samapriya, I'm going to read the first 2 slides because these are the questions earlier. We covered these last week, but we start this week with Maitreya's answers to these specific questions. So let's go over them first. Third canto, chapter 7, Further Inquiries by Vidura, text 1. Sri Vidura said, O great Brahmin, since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the complete spiritual whole and is unchangeable, how is he connected with the material modes of nature and their activities? If this is his pastime, How do the activities of the unchangeable take place and exhibit qualities without the modes of nature? Vidura continued, the pure soul is pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situations, dreams, or other causes. How then does he become engaged in nescience? The Lord, as the supersoul, is situated in every living being's heart. Why then do the living entities' activities result in misfortune and misery? O great and learned one, my mind is greatly illusioned by this distress of this nescience, and I therefore request you to clear it up.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone. Nice to see everyone here. These are very, very important questions that I'm sure a lot of us have ourselves asked. So did you want the next slide, Patti? Yeah. Amy, would you like to read that? Are you?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
My obeisances to everybody. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Srimad-Bhagavatam 379. Sri Maitreya said, certain conditioned souls put forward the theory that the Supreme Brahman, or the personality of Godhead, is overcome by illusion or Maya, and at the same time they maintain that he is unconditioned. This is against all logic. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There is no reason to assert that the Supreme Brahman is overpowered by the illusory energy. The clouds, darkness, and snowfall can cover only a very insignificant portion of the sun's rays. Similarly, the modes of material nature may react upon the ray-like living entities. It is the misfortune of the living entity, certainly not without reason, that the influence of the material energy acts on the pure consciousness and eternal bliss. This covering up of pure consciousness and eternal bliss is due to avidya, karma, sanya, the energy which acts on the infinitesimal living energies who misuse their minute independence.
Thank you, Amy.
Sama?
Yes.
Just want to make an announcement. If you're not speaking, please use your mute button, because I'm hearing all kinds of different voices and sounds on my end.
Okay.
So if you're not speaking, please use the mute. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Mamantara, why don't you just read the next slide? Okay. Let's see, Mamantara.
Thank you. Purport continued. According to Vishnu Puran, Bhagavad Gita, and all other Vedic literatures, the living entities are generated from the Tatastha energy of the Lord, and thus they are always the energy of the Lord and are not the energetic. The living entities are like the sun rays, although as explained above, there is no qualitative difference between the sun and its rays. The sun rays are sometimes overpowered by another energy of the sun, namely by clouds or by snowfall. Similarly, although the living entities are qualitatively one with the superior energy of the Lord, they have the tendency to be overpowered by the inferior material energy. In the Vedic hymns, it is said that the living entities are like the sparks of a fire. The sparks of a fire are also our fire, but the burning potency of the sparks is different from that of the original fire. When the sparks fly out of touch with the original fire, they come under the influence of a non-fiery atmosphere. Thus, they maintain the potency to be again one with the fire as sparks, but not as the original fire. The sparks can everlastingly remain within the original fire as its parts and parcels, but the moment the sparks become separated from the original fire, their misfortunes and miseries begin. The clear conclusion is that the Supreme Lord, who is the original fire, is never overpowered, but the infinitesimal sparks of the fire can become overpowered by the illusory effect of Maya. It is a most ludicrous argument to say that the Supreme Lord is overpowered by his own material energy. The Lord is the master of the material energy, but the living entities are in the conditioned state, controlled by the material energy. That is the version of Bhagavad Gita.
Thank you, Mama Tara. Can you explain that? And Amy, if you have something to add to it, start off, Mama Tara. This is a very far out purport.
Yeah, it's actually pretty clear in itself, honestly, by the examples that is so profoundly given by Srila Prabhupada about part and parcel being separated from the Supreme, being independent, but just being minutely independent and overpowered by the material energy.
Right. How
Prabhupada's Prabhupada explanation in the speech that I put in the forum, where he says it's an incompatible situation. It is so clearly put.
And we are very small. We are very, very small. So our independence is really quite small. Thank you, Manvantaraji. Amy, did you want to? Yes, Patsy?
I'm wondering if Tisha, over the course of the last week, if this whole concept is becoming a little more clear, how the living entities are so small and overpowered by a different energy of the Lord, because it's his energy that covers us.
Yeah, I was profoundly fascinated. I read this part of this purport so many times because I love the part about the sparks of fire. Like, you can choose to stay there with the fire, you can stay with Krishna and be subordinate to Krishna, or if you misbehave and you get entangled in the material nature, then you're subordinate or you're under the control of the material nature. So
Why is that? Why is that? What is our nature? What is our nature?
I'm saying our pure nature is to serve. We have to serve something. So we should serve our creator. We should serve Krishna, but then we want to be the king of everything or whatever. And so we choose to serve the material nature.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. We are servants, so we have to serve something. And if we want to be the king, then we have to remember that there's the opposite. When we come to the material world, there's the opposite. You get maybe what you like for a teeny while, and then you experience the opposite.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
I have a question.
Yes, Seshaji.
On the first slide of the purport, it mentions an arrow phrase when it talks about the conditioned nature of living entity. It says, not without reason. I don't know if you can put that back up there. It's on the next slide from this one. Yeah, it says, anyway, somewhere on here it says, not without reason. I wonder what that meant.
Is it in the purport? I remember that too.
It's in the purport, yeah.
Sometimes. Well, of course, there's every reason in the world why we should be overpowered. We're teeny, minute, and we have an insignificant amount of independence. So it's not without reason that we should be overpowered. That's how I took it.
Okay.
Patti, you have something? I can't hear you.
I'm
Unmute.
trying to find it so we can take a look at it specifically. There it
Okay,
is.
that's good. Okay.
It is
Yes.
not, it is the misfortune of the living entity, certainly not without reason, that the influence of the material energy acts on his pure consciousness and eternal bliss. So there is a cause. It's not just arbitrary or bias. It's due to that, like Samapriya was just pointing out, we read other places, that it's due to the misuse of the independence. Somehow or another, which it is not explained anywhere, what that some way or other is. The misuse of the
It was
independence. What is the cause of the misuse of the independence?
Oh, that, I thought you were talking about being overpowered by the material
No,
nature.
I'm
We are
talking
overpowered
about
by that.
the original
The
cause.
misuse.
The misuse, the original cause of someone's misuse. Some people say that it was because they wanted to enjoy, they were with in the pastimes of Krishna, and they were somehow distracted, desiring to take his position. Others say that because the Lord is unlimited, there are constant expansions coming from him, just like new rays of the sun are coming all the time, but it's the same energy. There's no, it's still eternal, and that some living entities by nature haven't developed their inert natural desire to serve the Lord. So therefore the material world exists in order to help them develop that tendency.
The way I solve this for myself is just trying to understand how now, since here I am in present time, how am I misusing my relationship, this energy? How am I victimized by misusing my life energy and not serving Krishna? And I'm completely confused and covered up. So rather than, and Prabhupada often says, you know, we've gone through this. We'll keep going through this eternally, and we'll never get the answer to it. But here we are in the material world. So let's, rather than understanding why, originally why we got here, we understand that we remain here by not being Krishna conscious. That's how we remain here. So that's a very important problem that we have to solve right now. That's why we're doing everything that we're doing, chanting, hearing, associating, speaking like this. We're here. And we see that this is embedded within us, this misuse of our independence, it's within us. So let's start with the present moment, and things will become clear when we're not victimized by the modes of nature.
As a matter of fact, in these upcoming verses, Maitreya will prescribe the remedy.
Oh, let's go. Let's see. This sounds wonderful. Okay, let me, is this the text we're up to? Anita, do you want to read? And then Sesha?
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad-Bhagavatam 3.7.10. The living entity is in distress regarding his self-identity. He has no factual background like a man who dreams that he sees his head cut off. Purport. A teacher in the school once threatened his pupil that he would cut off the pupil's head and hang it on the wall, so that the child could see how his head had been cut off. The child became frightened and stopped his mischief. Similarly, the miseries of the pure soul and disruption of his self-identification are managed by the external energy of the Lord, which controls those mischievous living entities who want to go against the will of the Lord. Actually, there is no bondage or misery for the living entity, nor does he ever lose his pure knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Wow, that's getting clearer. In fact, our constitutional position is that there is no bondage or misery. Sesha, can you continue reading the purport, and then we can shed some more light on this profound realization we're developing.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. These activities are performed under the dictation of the illusory energy. The experience is compared to the experience of one's having his head cut off in a dream. The man whose head has been cut off also sees that his head has been cut off. If a person's head is severed, he loses the power to see. Therefore, if a man sees that his head has been cut off, it means that he thinks like that in hallucination. Similarly, a living entity is eternally subordinate to the Supreme Lord and he has this knowledge with him. But artificially, he thinks that he is God himself, and that although he is God, he has lost his knowledge due to Maya. This conception has no meaning, just as there is no meaning to seeing one's head being cut off. This is the process by which knowledge is covered. And because this artificial rebellious condition of living entity gives him all troubles, it is to be understood that he should take his normal life as a devotee of the Lord and be relieved from the misconception of being God. The so-called liberation of thinking oneself God is the last reaction of the avidya by which the living entity is entrapped. The conclusion is that a living entity deprived of eternal transcendental service of the Lord becomes illusioned in many ways. Even in his conditional life, he is the eternal servant of the Lord. His servitude under the spell of Maya, illusory Maya, is also a manifestation of his eternal condition of service. Because he has rebelled against the service of the Lord, he is therefore put in illusion. No. Put in the service of Maya. He is still serving, but in a perverted manner. When he wants to get out of illusion, when he wants to get out of service under material bondage, he next desires to become one with the Lord. This is another illusion. The best course, therefore, is to surrender unto the Lord and thus get rid of the illusory Maya for good, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:14. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it.
Wow. Okay, Sesha, explain that to us.
I think you explained it during our discussion of just before this verse, is that there's this causeless unwillingness to serve, and as a result, we get involved in the illusory energy and just go from one situation to the next.
Sesha, could you clear up in case it's unclear for some, the example that Maitreya is giving of a person who is dreaming his head has been cut off? Why such an example?
I think because it shows how we can be put into illusion. But because the example is that if you're seeing your head cut off, then you know it must be a dream, because it's not possible to see your head cut off. It's cut off. And so understanding, that sort of gives us some kind of a little understanding or experience of what it means to be an illusion. And how our life around us, although we see everything around us, we take it as being real. But how it's breaking that illusion. This analogy is breaking that illusion so that we can understand how we are an illusion, which is one of the overall subjects of this section that will be read for this week.
Thank you.
I'd like to say just one thing. Thank you, Sesha, for making it much clearer. The verse says that all living entities are in a distressed condition. So at least that's being acknowledged. And the last sentence of this purport tells us actually how to get out of illusion. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So that surrender, we are being given the tools now. We are hearing how to surrender to the Lord. We really are. And how to see the material energy. and how to understand that we are his eternal servants and our nature is to serve, and we're serving the wrong thing. We're understanding this. So that surrender is our focus to get out of this distressed condition. Does anyone else have anything to add more about that? Pati, did you want to?
No,
Thank you,
I'm
Sesha. That was
I'm
awesome.
enjoying the, appreciating the flow.
Okay. Okay, let's see what Bhadra can tell us. Bhadra, who gave a wonderful class today, all filled with Krishna's pastimes. It was beautiful. Thank you, Bhadraji. Could you read the next slide and the purport?
Srimad-Bhagavatam 3.7.11. As the moon reflected on the water appears to the seer to tremble due to being associated with the quality of the water, so the self associated with water appears to be qualified as matter. Purport. The Supreme Soul, the personality of Godhead, is compared to the moon in the sky, and the living entities are compared to the reflection of the moon on water. The moon in the sky is fixed and does not appear to quiver like the moon on the water. Actually, like the original moon in the sky, the one reflected on the water should also not quiver. But because of being associated with the water, the reflection appears to be quivering. Although in actual fact the moon is fixed, the water moves, but the moon does not move. Similar living entities appear to be tainted by material qualities like illusion, lamentation, and miseries. Although in the pure soul, such qualities are completely absent. The word pratyat, which means apparently and not actually, like the experience of having one's head cut off in a dream, is significant here. The reflection of the moon on the water is a separated energy of the moon and not the actual moon. The separated part and parcel of the Lord entangles in the water of material existence have the quivering quality, whereas the Lord is like the actual moon in the sky, which is not at all in touch with water.
Oh, that's pretty clear, but I think that it deserves an explanation. Bhadraji, can you
Yes.
speak up? You have to speak
Yes.
up. I could
Yes.
barely hear you before.
Okay, so we are individual living entities. We are not God, and we will be like that all the time. So we are as living entities. We are under the illusion. We are in this situation, and this Lord is already there. Lord is steady. Lord is there. So now we have to get out of this quivering of the shaking of the water and fixed ourselves to that Lord who is there, who is there. That's what I'm getting it. What happened?
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Okay,
Does anybody else get this example? Not only is the Lord fixed and the living entity is quivering, the only reason that the living entity experiences the quivering or the sufferings and enjoyments of the quivering is because he identifies himself as a particle of matter, as part of matter. The idea is that the soul itself is just like the moon. It has no connection with this material world. It's an illusion, just like having your head cut off in a dream. It's like an extreme hallucinational experience. It has no sense whatsoever. But we're here and we identify so much with what's going on here that we become emotional, we become attached, we experience all the different realities that a soul inherently has: love, rejection, separation, meeting, all the different things that go on in the spiritual world go on here, but it's in a perverted reflection. It's like Alice going into the mirror. It's a reflected existence. It's not real. It's all backwards, upside down, and inside out. but we identify with it, and therefore we think that this is reality. So the example of the moon and the quivering are to show that there's really no connection between the living entity and the quivering.
Thank you. Thank you for making very clear. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Jayashree, would you like to read the next slide?
Srimad-Bhagavatam 3:7-12. But that misconception of self-identity can be diminished gradually by the mercy of the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, through the process of devotional service to the Lord in the mode of detachment. Purport. The quivering quality of material existence, which comes from identification with matter or from thinking oneself under the material influence of philosophical speculation to be God, can be eradicated by devotional service to the Lord by the mercy of the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. As discussed in the first canto, because the application of devotional service to Lord Vasudeva invites pure knowledge, it quickly detaches one from the material conception of life and thus revives one's normal condition of spiritual existence, even in this life, and frees one from the material winds which cause one to quiver. Only knowledge and devotional service can elevate one towards the path of liberation. The development of knowledge for the purpose of knowing everything without rendering devotional service is considered fruitless labor, and one cannot get the desired result by such labor of love. Oops, I can't hear you.
Unmute, Sama.
Sorry, sir. Can you add to that? I mean, it's hopeful.
Oh, that's, yeah. So it's, yeah, so we can't just study. We have to do service. We have to understand, we have to do both together.
Yeah, the practical application of what we're hearing, now we have to incorporate it in our actions.
Mhm.
Good. Thank you.
I think one of the points that can be emphasized in that particular regard is that it really doesn't matter what you do. It matters how you do it. Arjuna seemingly didn't want to fight. He was a good man. He was soft-hearted. He didn't want to fight with his relatives. But when he found out what Krishna wanted, it's an extreme example. It's used so that we can understand. He's actually going to be freed from karma by killing,
Mhm.
because it's the plan of the Lord. So it's not that there's any particular activity which is more beneficial than another one. But if it's done, of course, chanting and hearing and reading, but if you do them with antagonistic or inattentive approach without a devotional attitude, there's some benefit because the vibration is there. But certainly throughout every one of Srila Prabhupada's books and throughout all of this Srimad-Bhagavatam, the process of devotional service, Krishna says, Bhaktimam abhijanati. By only can I be known by this devotional service, not by Gyan, not by yoga, not by working hard, making a lot of money, not by taking care of your family, unless all those things are done for his pleasure. It changes the whole dynamic.
Wow. That's wonderful. It is hopeful. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Let's go on to the next slide. Vaishnavi, would you like to read?
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Jayashree. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Srimad-Bhagavatam 3.7.13.
We just read this one, did we? Oh, no, we didn't. Sorry. Come on.
When the senses are satisfied in the seer supersoul, the personality of Godhead, and merge in him, all the miseries are completely vanquished, as after a sound sleep. Purport. The quivering of the living entity as described above is due to the senses. Since the entire material existence is meant for sense gratification, the senses are the medium of material activities, and they cause the quivering of the steady soul. Therefore, these senses are to be detached from all such material activities. According to the impersonalists, the senses are stopped from work by merging the soul in the super soul Brahman. The devotees, however, do not stop the material senses from acting, but they engage their transcendental senses in the service of the transcendence, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In either case, the activities of the senses in the material field are to be stopped by cultivation of knowledge, and if possible, they can be engaged in the service of the Lord. The senses are transcendental in nature, but their activities become polluted when contaminated by matter. We have to treat the senses to cure them of the material disease, not stop them from acting, as suggested by the impersonalist. In Bhagavad Gita 2.59, it is said that one ceases all material activities only when satisfied by contact with the better engagement. Consciousness is active by nature and cannot be stopped from working. Artificially stopping a mischievous child is not a real remedy. The child must be given some better engagement so that he will automatically stop causing mischief. In the same way, the mischievous activities of the senses can be stopped only by better engagement in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the eyes are engaged in seeing the beautiful form of the Lord, the tongue engaged in taking prasada or remnants of foodstuff offered to the Lord, the ears are engaged in hearing His glories, the hands are engaged in cleaning the temple of the Lord, the legs are engaged in visiting His temples, or when all the senses are engaged in transcendental variegatedness, then only can the transcendental senses become satiated and eternally free from material engagement. The Lord, as a super soul residing in everyone's heart, and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world, far beyond the material creation, is a seer of all our activities. Our activities must be so transcendentally saturated with the Lord that the Lord will be kind enough to look upon us favorably and engage us in His transcendental service. Then only can the senses be satisfied completely and be no longer troubled by material attraction.
Unmute, Sama.
Okay, Vaishnavi, thank you. That's a very, this is the solution. What is being said here? What is being said here? Vaishnavi.
What is being said here is that we cannot stop our activities. We have to divert our activities towards the Supreme. Just like
Yes.
we have to eat, so now we eat prasad. We have to, so that's one example, which
Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect example. We have to understand the difference between spiritual activities and material activities. Even though they're the same activities, as Vaishnavi was saying, we're eating. But for a devotee, honoring prasad, which has been offered to Krishna, and just someone else who is not a devotee and not offering the food and just eating without any rules or regulations for his own sense gratification, that is binding one to the material world. Another way to say it is sat and asat. Those are two very important words. Sat means eternal, asat is temporary. So we have a choice. Whatever we do can be either spiritual, sat activities, eternal activities, or which bind us to this world and keep us in that illusion, or engage in sat, spiritual activities.
Well, I have a question regarding that.
Oh boy.
No, let me bring this point up here. It says that the senses are transcendental by nature, but their activities become polluted when contaminated by matter. We have to treat the senses to cure them of their material disease, not stop them from acting. So when we act, you're saying you were just talking about acting sat, spiritually. That means eternally. But when I engage my senses in something in this world, I find that that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's certainly not eternal activity.
Okay, well, devotional service is a spiritual activity, even though we're using a temporary organism to engage in devotional service. That's my understanding. We only have our bodies to engage in, so we can choose to engage in spiritual activities or material, even though we are the eternal soul within. And this is a perverted. These senses are being perverted because they're not being used properly in the service of the Lord, and that's why they're transcendental. Because naturally they would be used in the service of the Lord.
Can anybody else chime in and give us some examples? Bhadra?
Bhadraji?
We have the spirit soul, and the spirit soul we have a transcendental body, and we have that transcendental body, and we use that transcendental body in service of the Lord. But at present, we have gotten this material body, and it's using the bad bargain they call. What do you call the bad bargain? That we use this, they use this body in the service of the Lord. The iron is gonna come in touch with the fire, and it's gonna become fire.
Good,
So we
good.
use this body, which is we have, in the service of the Lord. And then gradually, of course, the body will become transcendental. That's why pure devotee's body is transcendental. That's why it's not burned. It is put in samadhi. But the spiritual body has taken over that, and the material body is gonna be even the subtle body is gonna be dissolved, and we will be again put in conscious position to serve the Lord. That's my understanding.
Very good. Sama, let me go back to the original verse. Just
Okay,
to
and
verify,
Chaita.
just to verify what this conversation is talking about.
Okay, and then Chaita had something to add also. All right, we're going back.
Okay.
This is an important subject matter to know who we're doing what for. You know, that points us in the right direction. Okay, what was it, Pati, that you wanted to show us?
When the senses are satisfied in the seer supersoul, the personality of Godhead, and merge in him, all the miseries are completely vanquished, as after a sound sleep. In other words, just like Bhadra was just giving that example, the point is we have senses. They're part of this spiritual body of the living entity. So you can't stop them. They're going to always be active. Srila Prabhupada talked about that in this. The senses are transcendental. We have senses to cure them. Consciousness is active by nature and cannot be stopped from working. Artificially stopping a mischievous child is not the remedy. So the point that Maitreya is making is that activity has to be performed for the pleasure of the Lord. By doing so, all the miseries of the material world stop. Now the question arises, how? I still experience so many difficulties and miseries, although engaged in devotional service. Anybody want to chime in on that one?
Let's ask Chaita what she wanted to say. Maybe
Okay.
she's got the answer. That's a
That's-
huge question.
This is exactly what I wanted to discuss. Back in the purport for text 11, first of all, good morning, Dandavat pranams to everybody.
Krishna.
In the purport, it lists that the living entities appear to be tainted by qualities like illusion, lamentation, and miseries. Although in the pure soul, such qualities are completely absent. So our struggle here is to become pure as quickly as possible and as thoroughly as possible. But how about along the way, we are barraged by other entities who are not pure, and they impose their illusion, lamentation, and miseries upon us. I struggle with this all the time. I'm an empathetic person. When somebody's coming to me with problems, you want to do something about it. Of course, you want to maybe offer them a book or offer them some kind of understanding to deal with it. But at the same time, there's this imposition that's going on.
You know,
Go ahead.
just before I tell Bhadra, one time I was thinking about this it really struck me. I said this to my husband. I even made like a little design and I put it on Facebook. And if how important are the people in your dream when you wake up? I mean, how important? I mean, you know, that I'm not saying it right, but it was just like a
I like
mind-boggling.
it.
How important? Oh man, I woke up too soon. I should have told this guy this. You know, so we can't. And also this morning we were discussing. I asked the same question. Okay, Krishna is saying, I will free you from all miseries. I will, and I'm trying to serve Krishna. So I asked my husband, when is that going to happen? When is this freedom from all miseries? How does that happen? Because you can't really control what's coming toward you, only maybe by the way you react to it. So actually, we have this body. We have the choice to use this body in Krishna's service. This body is made of material elements. The nature is misery, temporary. We can't get away from that. So when Krishna says, I will relieve you from all this, we have to flip our consciousness to understand that we are eternal and that this is just one body, and he will relieve our misery by freeing us from the cycle of birth and death. Now, those are big words, and it's not easy to do that, but we have the acharyas and they do it. So we have example. Bhadra, did you want to, Chita, I hope that if you can put those pieces together.
Yes. Oh, I really like what you said about the people in your dream. Yeah.
What is the difference? What the people in the, that was what is the difference? What the people in your dream think about you?
Thank you. Thank you. That's excellent.
Bhadraji, did you want to say something before we go on?
Coming to the point of the coming to the point of Dhruv Maharaj Prabhu's question, this material world is dukhalam sashvatam, temporary and miserable, right? And that is going to be there all the time. It's now a question of we have to tolerate it and go on with the services. And that is what we are learning by discussing Srimad-Bhagavatam, by reading Srimad-Bhagavatam, by associating with devotees. Because it's going to happen anyhow. It's going to go on. But it is how you act during that time, during the difficult time, or something happen, how you respond. That is the most important thing. The pure devotional Lord is Srila Prabhupada, like he will responded very such a way that he will be stay aloof away from it. He will not be affected. And that's what we are trying to, not become like him, but exactly following in his footsteps to do something in our life. That's my understanding.
Thank you, Bhadra. That's
Thank
beautiful.
you. That was really nice.
Jayashree, did you have something to say? I saw her hand wave.
Yeah, I always get the wave, the hand raised.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking, I guess, an answer to that question too is we suffer as more or less in how much we relate to our material condition. I would think our bodies, our, people in our dreams and everything, as you said, in the material world. So as much as we are attached and relating to that, we're going to suffer a little more, but the suffering is going to come no matter until we get out of this material body.
Yeah. It's the nature. It's the nature of the place. Really, if it's raining outside, your umbrella might stop the rain for a little while over you, but it's not going to stop. Oh, there's our umbrella. Let's stop raining. No, it's not going to happen.
Let's
we got to go on.
Let's hear for some more from Maitreya.
Oh, he's sorry. Yes. Tisha. Let's hear from Tisha.
Thank you. So good to be here with you all. Okay, Srimad-Bhagavatam 3:7-14. Excuse me. Simply by chanting and hearing of the transcendental name, form, etc. of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one can achieve the cessation of unlimited miserable conditions. Therefore, what to speak of those who have attained attraction for serving the flavor of the dust of the Lord's lotus feet? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Two different methods of controlling the material senses are recommended in the Vedic scriptural wisdom. One of them is the process of jnana, or the path of philosophical understanding of the Supreme Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The other is that of direct engagement in the transcendental, loving devotional service of the Lord. Of these two most popular methods, the path of devotional service is recommended here as the best because one on the path of devotional service does not have to wait for the attainment of the fruitive results of pious activities or for the results of knowledge.
Go on.
Purport continued. The two stages of executing devotional service are, first, the stage of practicing devotional service with our present senses under the regulations of the recognized scriptures, and second, attaining sincere attachment for serving the particles of the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. The first stage is called sadhana bhakti, or devotional service for the neophyte, which is rendered under the direction of a pure devotee. And the second stage is called raga bhakti, in which the mature devotee automatically takes to the various services of the Lord out of sincere attachment. In bold, the great sage Maitreya now gives the final answer to all the questions of Vidura. Devotional service to the Lord is the ultimate means to mitigate all the miserable conditions of material existence. The path of knowledge or that of mystical gymnastics may be adopted as a means for the purpose, but unless mixed with bhakti or devotional service, they are unable to award the desired result. By practicing sadhana bhakti, one may gradually rise to the point of raga bhakti, and by performing raga bhakti in loving transcendental service, one can even control the supreme, powerful Lord. Wow.
And how is that? How are you, little Tisha, insignificant little, beautiful little entity, going to control he who makes the sunrise? How are you going to do that, Tisha?
I don't know. I just
take a quick guess based on everything that you've heard until now.
Honestly, I just was, maybe because out of pure love, the reciprocation of the Lord.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. Pure, unalloyed, transcendental love. Yeah. Nandaji. Oh, she's saying yes. Okay, there it is. Thank you. That's beautiful. All right, any more discussion on this before we go on, Pati? It looks like you're wanting to discuss.
No, I just wanted to say something. At this point, Maitreya, just like we read in that one highlighted section, it said, now Maitreya has answered the questions of Vidura. Vidura had asked, if you remember, although the living entity has the Lord within his heart, why does he continue to experience miseries? So he's answered the question. Now, in the whole sojourn and evolvement and development of their conversations, Vidura asked some questions in the very beginning. Maitreya answered by describing the creation up to the point of the universal form. Then Vidura asked some more questions about the details. And then it became the Garbhodaksha Vishnu, the different elements within the universe, the different universal form itself. Then he asked more about the living entities in the material world. Remember, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Brahma was born, the living entities are there in their bodies. So he was asking, why do they suffer? Now Maitreya has answered that section. Now the rest of this part that we're going to read now, again, goes to Maitreya, Vidura, asking further questions.
Bhajaji? Thank you, Pati. Bhaja?
I don't know if there is a time or not. Can someone tell me or elaborate this? We always serving the particles of the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. Can you little bit elaborate what is that means? Literally means, what is that means?
What is that? I guess when you you'll know what it
Come on,
means at the
Dhruv
right
Maharaj.
time.
Come on,
Sesha,
Dhruv
Nanda,
Maharaj, Prabhu.
Sesha-ji.
Sesha, Nanda, Sesha.
Well, I think that it means what it says. It's not symbolic for something else. The Lord's body is transcendental in all of its parts. And where are you, the infinitesimal little soul, going to approach such a great personality? You approach them at their feet. That's the only appropriate stance of a cultured spirit soul meeting the Lord, is to go to his feet first. Prabhupada described how we take darshan like that in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, this section discussing Kunti's prayers. Start
Wonderful.
with the feet. And the Lord is a person. The origin of everything is a person. And so going to his feet is it's not symbolic, it's actual, it's factual. That's where we go to release the love, just like a small child runs to their parent. And when the parent picks up the child, there's a feeling of love that's palpable. So there's a palpable experience of going to the Lord's feet and taking that dust that's there. That's one way.
Yeah, I had a little
Thank
bit
you.
different take on it, if I may. That meant to me, in every which way, everything that we do, even to the smallest thing, we are serving Krishna. In everything that we do, everything. You know, which also would be under the same category as what you're saying, I believe, Sesha. But everything that we do, we can't say, well, we're going to serve Krishna later. Every moment, 24/7, Prabhupada said we should be engaged in service 24 hours a day. That doesn't mean you're frantically running around doing stuff. It means the consciousness, everything that we do, say, think, our motivation is only to please Krishna. That's what I thought. But thank you. That I think that maybe like anything else in the Bhagavatam and a relation to Krishna, there are many different ways to engage in the same service. Thank you, everyone, so far. Let's go on with Elizabeth. Elizabeth, are you there? Can you read this?
Yes, Mataji, Dantavats from Srimad-Bhagavatam 3:7-15. Vidura said, "O powerful sage, my lord, my doubts about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entities have now been removed by your convincing words. My mind is now perfectly entering into them."
Elizabeth, your
Yes.
your internet connection is garbled. Can you turn off the video and just read with the audio?
Can you hear me better now, G?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Should I read the verse or go with the purport?
Purport's okay.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada. The science of Krishna, the science of God, and living entities is so subtle that even a personality, Vidura, has to consult persons like the sage Maitreya. Doubts about the relationship of the Lord and living entity are created by speculators in different ways. But the conclusive fact is that the relationship of God and the living entity is one of the predominator and the predominated. The Lord, the eternal predominator, and the living entity are eternally predominated. Real knowledge of this relationship entails reviving the lost consciousness to this standard, and the process for such revival is devotional service to the Lord. By clear understanding from authorities like the sage Maitreya, one can become situated in real knowledge, and the disturbed mind can thus be fixed on the progressive path.
Thank you, Elizabeth. See, we're being given all the perfect answers now. These are all perfect answers. Can you understand all of that, Elizabeth?
I'm trying, Mataji. I'm in the path of trying to understand these things.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Do you have something to add to that, Elizabeth?
And I only understand it like a bath. It's like it's in a bath, just like when you go in the mud and you get really, well, if you don't want to be muddy anymore, you have to go to the bath. And so chanting the holy names and doing devotional service is a bath for the soul. You
Good.
need to go through that process to get in. So it's going to take a while. We're trying.
You're on the right path. That's a great shower. Thank you. That's beautiful. That example has been used often. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go on with Gopa. Gopa ji, you there?
Yes, Haribo, Hare Krishna.
Good. Hare Krishna.
Srimad-Bhagavatam 3:7-16. Oh, learned sage, your explanations are very good, as they should be. Disturbances to the conditioned soul have no other basis than the movement of the external energy of the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A living entity's unlawful desire to become one with the Lord in every respect is the root cause of the entire material manifestation. For otherwise, the Lord has no need to create such a manifestation, even for his pastime. The conditioned soul, under the spell of the external energy of the Lord, falsely suffers many unfortunate incidents in material life. The Lord is the predominator of the external energy, Maya, whereas the living entity is predominated by the same Maya under the material condition. The false attempt to the living entity to occupy the predominating post of the Lord is the cause of his material bondage, and the conditioned soul's attempt to become one with the Lord is the last snare of Maya.
Oh my God, Gopa. Tell me, the false attempt of the living entity to occupy the predominating post of the Lord is the cause of his material bondage. Okay, how often are we getting involved in that?
Every moment, every breath of life.
Oh my God. Okay, so what do we do about that?
We just got to keep on going, keep on engaging in the process, chanting, hearing, remembering, and think, is this for Krishna or is this for me?
Oh,
Good.
nice. That's good.
That's it. That's right. Sat and asat. There's always the choices there. Thank you, Gopa. That's beautiful. Think about that.
Haribo.
Haribo. How about hearing from Faye? And Faye, are you there?
Good morning, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srimad-Bhagavatam 3.7.17. Both the lowest of fools and he who is transcendental to all intelligence enjoy happiness, whereas persons between them suffer the material pangs. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The lowest of fools do not understand material miseries. They pass their lives merrily and do not inquire into the miseries of life. Such persons are almost on the level of animals who, although in the eyes of superiors are always miserable in life, are unaware of the material distresses. A hog's life is degraded in its standard of happiness, which entails living in a filthy place, enjoying in sex enjoyment at every opportune moment, and laboring hard in a struggle for existence. But this is unknown to the hog. Similarly, human beings who are unaware of the miseries of material existence and are happy in sex life and hard labor are the lowest of fools. Yet, because they have no sense of miseries, they supposedly enjoy so-called happiness. The other class of men, those who are liberated and are situated in the transcendental position above intelligence, are really happy and are called Paramahamsas. But persons who are neither like hogs and dogs, nor on the level of the Paramahamsas, feel the material pangs, and for them, inquiry about the supreme truth is necessary. The Vedanta Sutra states, Athato Brahma Jinasa, one should inquire about Brahman. This inquiry is necessary for those who are between the Paramahamsas and the fools who have forgotten the question of self-realization in the midst of life in sense gratification.
Okay, Faye, explain that one.
May I see the screen, please?
Yeah, let's go back to the screen.
Thank you. Well, if you look at the two extremes, the lowest of fools in the most animal-like condition, Maya's got them fully deluded. They are happy as the proverbial pig in the pigsty. This is their reality. This is the way they wish to live, and they don't seek to elevate their consciousness. They don't seek to reestablish their relationship with the Lord or to serve them. They're only serving their senses or serving Maya. The Paramahamsas, they're getting somewhere. They're really understanding that their true position is engaging their senses in the service of the Lord. Their true position is eternally servant of the Lord. And despite all the mud flying about us here in the earthly realm, the Paramahamsas are actually happy because they can see through the illusion and the delusions, and they know what is what. Those of us in the middle are fighting with the miseries. They may be miseries inflicted by our own mind, our own body. They may be miseries inflicted by others upon us, or even miseries inflicted by the demigods. But the key here is to move our consciousness and stop saying, ouch, 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 and stop crying out in pain and fussing and whining. Stop this, Maya. Maya, we do not like this. Maya, we are here to serve the Lord. And continuously speak up to Maya saying, hi, I am here to learn how to be the servant of the Lord. Thank you, Maya, for teaching me today. However, I want to engage my senses in serving the Lord. How about let's go to breakfast now and let's prepare every single thing for the pleasure of Krishna. Leave me alone, Maya. This is my battle every day. Maya, I don't feel well today, or Maya, this is bothering me today, but stop it. Maya, I don't want to be influenced by your illusions, your delusions, and your mud anymore. Clear up the illusions. Leave this alone. Go to Krishna, serve Krishna, work for Krishna, love Krishna, think of Krishna, engage my senses in Krishna. And then the miseries that are happening around me that are inevitable don't bother me so much.
Unmute, Sama.
Thank you, Faye. I take it that that's what you're doing, right?
I'm trying,
You're trying.
Mataji.
Okay.
I'm trying.
Good. Very good. Thank you, Faye. That's always nice to hear from you. Let's go on with Chaitamayi. You read for us? There's
Haribol. Thank you,
purport
Mata.
too. Haribol.
Srimad-Bhagavatam 3, 7, 18 through 20. But, my dear sir, I am obliged to you because now I can understand that this material manifestation is without substance. Although it appears real, I am confident that by serving your feet, it will be possible for me to give up the false idea. By serving the feet of the spiritual master, one is enabled to develop transcendental ecstasy in the service of the personality of Godhead, who is the unchangeable enemy of the Madhu demon and whose service vanquishes one's material distresses. Persons whose austerity is meager can hardly obtain the service of the pure devotees who are progressing on the path back to the kingdom of Godhead, the Vaikunthas. Pure devotees engage 100% in glorifying the Supreme Lord, who is the Lord of the demigods and the controller of all living entities. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The path of liberation, as recommended by all authorities, is to serve the Mahatma transcendentalists. As far as the Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the Mahatmas are the pure devotees who are on the path to Vaikuntha, the kingdom of God, and who always chant and hear the glories of the Lord rather than talk of dry, profitless philosophy. This system of association has been recommended since time immemorial. But in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, it is especially recommended by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even if one has no assets of favorable austerity, if he nevertheless takes shelter of the Mahatmas who are engaged in chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, he is sure to make progress on the path back home, back to Godhead.
Oh my goodness, thank you. I have two questions. We see that Prabhupada's so kind here. Could you go back to that, please, Hati? That one slide, the purport. Prabhupada is so kind, you know, he's saying just by hearing, but we can become purified. But Sanjaya in the Bhagavad Gita also talks about this: one who is not austere will not understand this philosophy, these teachings. So what does it mean, meager austerity? What are we to do with that?
Meager austerity is letting yourself go, allowing your senses to rule you, going with the material flow. I want to eat, drink, and be merry, and please don't hold me back, because that is where my happiness lies. That's meager austerity.
Okay, so that meager austerity, are we to understand that if we are engaged with this, if our austerity is to be considered meager, then we are not going to understand this philosophy? This is an open question, because this could encourage, or this can encourage us, I think. Go on.
Yeah, I think the austerity is very much part of what we do. In other words, you have the positive and then you have the negative. You have the yamas and you have the niyamas. But it's real easy to just focus on chant, dance, and eat prasadam. Those are beautiful, and they can only be assimilated. Their ecstasy can only be assimilated if we are practicing no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication.
Okay,
Tisha has,
Tisha.
I just want to say, I'm trying to be emotional, but this is for me, who probably for however many 20 some years has meagerly, occasionally, once in a while read the Bhagavad Gita or watched Prabhupada videos or whatever, you don't get there that way. You have to like dive in 100%. That meager austerity, you just can't dip in now and then keep living your material life. I mean, that's what I got out of it. Something, I guess, having the experience of my mother-in-law passing and everything that we went through made me realize, I can't just dip in and dip out. At some point, I have to dedicate my life to this practice.
Yay, Haribol.
Haribol, Tisha. Everyone give her a Haribol. There you go. Wow. That is beautiful, Tisha. Okay, we're all with you. Thank you, darling. That is beautiful. All right. Well, that's a good thing to think about, really, this austerity and our meager attempt at it. Okay, we have two more people, Nanda and then Ian. Nanda, would you read these verses if you're still with us? Nandaji? Let's give her a minute to come back.
Okay.
Oh,
Hare Krishna.
Haribol, Nanda. Thank you.
3:7:21-25. After creating the total material energy, the Mahatattva, and thereby manifesting the gigantic universal form with senses and sense organs, the Supreme Lord entered within it. The Purusha incarnation lying on the causal ocean is called the original Purusha in the material creations. And in his Virat form, in whom all the planets and their inhabitants live, he has many thousands of legs and hands. O great Brahman, you have told me that the gigantic Virat form and his senses, sense objects, and 10 kinds of life air exist with 3 kinds of life vigor. Now, if you will, kindly explain to me the different powers of the specific divisions. Oh, my Lord, I think that the process manifest in the forms of sons, grandsons, and family members has spread all over the universe in different varieties and species. O learned Brahman, please describe how the leader of all the demigods, namely Prajapati, Brahma, decided to establish the various Manus, heads of the ages. Please describe the Manus also, and please describe the descendants of those Manus.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's a lot. She's asking a lot, but I have one question to ask you about that. The legs and hands, many thousand. So what does that mean? The legs and hands, the one above it, the way he has many thousands of legs and hands, just right above it. That.
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, I'll tell you what came to mind, but I don't think it's the answer that you're looking for. I mean, it came to the description in the 13th chapter of the Gita when it talks about the super soul having many legs and hands, and his arms and legs are everywhere, and he sees and hears everything.
Okay.
But
what's that?
That's the description of the super soul. But
yeah.
Here, the Purusha incarnation line, well, that could be him because Shirodakshai Vishnu. Okay, I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, good. Okay, but go a little bit deeper into, how does he have his hands and legs and everywhere? How?
That's very easy if you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full of multi-potencies.
Okay, so what? Keep going.
Very far and he's very near. He's within everything and he's outside of everything. And he's a person, so even though he might seem like he's very far away, when a little entity offers their prasad, offers their bhoga to the Lord with a tad of love, he can extend his hand through the unlimited space and accept it.
Okay. I wasn't looking for that one either.
Okay, what were you looking for?
I'm what I always thought since we are also these little teeny jivas part of the picture, his arms and legs, these are actually his arms and legs. So what are we supposed to do with these arms and legs? Use them for his service. He expands himself also with the living entities, through the living entities. He is functioning in this material world through the living entities.
So does that mean when I'm happy, the Lord's happy, and when I'm sad, the Lord's sad? And if I want to go drink something in the bar, then the Lord wants to too? Is that what that means?
That would be misuse of his hands and legs.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know. What do you think? Anybody? What do you think? His arms and legs. Seishaji, Pati. Oh, Baja's got the answer. Go on, Baja. Hands and legs.
Is it through his energy?
He's eating through the mouths of Brahmins.
It is through his energy. His energy is pervaded everywhere.
Yeah, is this his energy? Yes. My arms and legs are his energy. And Vaishnavi said he eats through the mouths of Brahmins. Yes. So, but is it him eating if somebody goes out and buys a hot dog or some weird thing? This is misuse of his arms and legs. This always fascinates me because that actually connects us to Krishna. These are his arms and legs. Well, who do I think I am using them for this ridiculous things that I might concoct myself to do? Okay.
Can we also say that both are true? Yes. Because when Arjuna saw, he wasn't looking and seeing everybody in the universe with their hands and legs. He was actually seeing the hands and legs of the Lord and thousands of forms all over, everywhere. So it says in the Brahma Samhita, one of the purports to I think it's the second verse, that the Lord is full in every one of the atoms throughout all of the universe.
That's true too.
So that Om Purnamidam Purnamidachite is inconceivable to us as tiny, minute living entities.
Right. Okay. I did hear Prabhupada say, I have to find that, I have to back myself up, that our arms or legs are actually his. But so that's just that, to help us understand that we have to use everything about us for him. But that's certainly the Brahma Samhita is, this is where we get our knowledge. Thank you. Okay, so one more. Now we have Ian reading for us in the last verses, and there's a little purport also. Thank you, Nandaji. Okay, go on, Ian.
Okay, Hare Krishna, everybody. Sorry, I'm late. I'm still having some. Okay, my screen is not showing so well. So could you tell me I'm using the.
It's 3/7/26 to 29.
26 to 29. Okay. All right.
O son of Mitra.
Okay, so O son of Mitra, describe how the planets are situated above the earth as well as underneath it. Also, please mention their measurement as well as that of the earth planets. And read the purport.
Oh, no, just the verses. It's
Just read
26 to 29.
these verses and then the final purport.
Okay. Okay, next. 27. Also, please describe the living beings under different classifications. Subhumans, humans, those born of the embryo, those born of perspiration, those who are twice born, birds, and the plants and vegetables. Kindly describe their generations and subdivisions also.
Next verse.
Please also describe the incarnations of the material modes of nature, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar. And please describe the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his magnanimous activities.
Okay, 29.
29. O great sage, kindly describe the divisions and orders of human society in terms of symptoms, behavior, and the characteristics of mental equilibrium and sense control. Also, please describe the births of the great sages and the categorical divisions of the Vedas.
Okay, and that purport?
Okay, purport. The four statuses and orders of human society: Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, as well as Brahmacharis, Vyastas, Vanapashtas, and Sannyasis, are all divisions of quality, education, culture, and spiritual advancement, attained by practicing control of the mind and senses. All these divisions are based on the particular nature of each individual person, not on the principle of birth. Birth is not mentioned in this verse because birth is immaterial. Vidura is famous in history as born of a Sudrani mother, yet is more than a Brahmana by qualification, because he is seen here to be disciple of a great sage, Maitreya Muni. Unless one achieves at least the Brahminical qualifications, one cannot understand the Vedic hymns. Mahabharata is also a division of Vedas, but it is meant for women, Sudras, and Divija
Bandhus.
Divija? How you pronounce it?
Dvija Bandhu.
Divija Bandhus, the wordless children of the higher section. The less intelligent section of society can avail themselves of the Vedic instruction simply by studying the Mahabharata.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's a whole, this is about Varnashram, that last purport.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's an important thing in this world today. We see people want to do away with all kinds of orders of society. Everybody is completely the same. But we know that we're not the same. We're all different. There's variety, and Krishna loves variety. So there's a lot, and Maitreya is also asking about all the different sections of society and the variety of them.
It's not only asking about the divisions of society. If we go back and follow those verses, everybody should at least take a quick look at the forums in the course materials online. In the forums this week, the last two for both 7 and 8, I included all the questions of Maharaj Pariksit from the second canto, chapter 8, and all the questions of Vidura from this chapter 7, because what's going to happen now from this point on until the end of the 4th canto, Maitreya will answer Vidura's questions, because what he's doing is he's asking more and more refined questions about how this universe works and what goes on in it.
Yeah,
so it's a worthy study.
It's beautiful to see the questions, both of the sets of questions. All right, well, anybody else have something to say about this just late morning light discussion about the absolute truth? Sesha, do you have something else to add, Prabhu? So glad that you've joined us, and Jai Shri. Sesha ji, can you say something?
Thank all the voice, wonderful association.
Chaita Mai has her hand up.
Oh, Chaita.
Oh, thank you. I did have a question about the assignment. There are so many questions, and I'm wondering, it seems they don't seem, both of the lists, they don't seem to flow in any particular sequence. They seem randomly related, the questions. I'm wondering, how do I approach this assignment? Do you want me to compare the questions on the two lists?
Well, I didn't want to pull too hard on the bull's nose and direct it in any particular way. Everybody gets their realizations according to the way Krishna gives them intelligence. But basically, what I was thinking for myself, the way I think, is you find the categories. Some speak about the creation, some speak about different aspects of it, like that, and see the similarities. Because certainly, as the speaker to Maharaj Pariksit, Sukadev Goswami connected the two together. So the question arises: how did he do that? What is that dynamic?
Beautiful. Thank you for explaining that.
Sure.
If I may, I also wanted to recognize that this weekend is the Tirobhav of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, who happens to be my initiating spiritual master. I
Oh,
just wanted
Haribol.
to say all glories to His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj.
Haribol.
Sesha, were you ever on the library party with him?
Yes, I was.
I thought so.
Wow, you're so fortunate.
I do take it as my great fortune in life to have known and served with him.
Yeah,
That is
I could tell a small story that I used to dress with Mini Dorkadish in Los Angeles many years ago. And then somehow or another, at the end of the dressing and when the offering came off, I would meet Maharaj in the Pujari room, and we had both the same intention of stealing Maha, which was the art. It was a great art of stealing the Mahaprasad. And I had a very friendly relationship with him too. And that was kind of sweet.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So grateful for your association.
I think Manvantar, don't you also have some connection with him?
Oh, is he your guru?
Is Manvantar still with us?
Yeah, she's still.
He Bhakti Tirtha Swami is my guru. Yeah.
Oh, he's so,
Right.
that's wonderful. Oh, God sisters. We're all one big family. How nice.
Yay.
Hare Krishna.
Jai, everyone. Thank you
All
for your
right, well,
association.
it's hard to leave because you're all so wonderful, and Krishna has graced us all to have such a nice sangha. So we will see you next week. Remember to look at the course online because it's really quite beautiful, and the forums are really, really wonderful.
Yeah,
thank you all.
again for everybody who's doing them. Jai, Vanchakalpatubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo,
Namo Namaha.
Thank you.
Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
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 Hare Go. Hare Go.